Hello everybody, welcome to Blender Today episode 107. Or I think we should, at this point we should name it with like days and weeks of June, mid-June. We are 1 week after the 2.83 release. Now we can focus only in 2.90, and for that we're going to talk about the roadmap, what to expect from Blender 2.90. So for that I have a guest that you know already, all the way from the Blender studio. We have the live.
Hey Pablo, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. And then it's so nice to be back in the studio, working from here. Super comfy.
Doing the live stream from there.
My own big wall of glass where I can write everything I need.
You can write everything.
Great. Oh no, it's good.
It's good. Well, it's good to have you back. Last week I talked about what was new in 2.90, and the whole episode was just about like 2 or 3 weeks worth of updates of what's all the features. There were so many. This week we also have some updates, and then we're going to talk about the roadmap for 2.90. Or maybe we can start with the roadmap, some of the news, and then we go into the Q&A questions. Maybe yes. So we get that out of the way.
We have the roadmap posted in, I think, at least 3 different places. So pick your favorite one.
The
one on DevTalk.
DevTalk
okay.
is the one where you can actually update it, right? Because if you mail it, it doesn't update.
Well, there's also a third one. If you go to the developer.blender.org and then click on Blender 2.90.
Yes.
Then you get the list of, because before you only have the dates, and now we also included all the projects that are aimed.
I like this one better, yeah, because you can actually link to the modules and the actual tasks for whatever is going on.
Yes, and the idea is that we only be taken out after it's committed, documented, we have a sample file. So it's going to help the release as well.
So the roadmap. So this is the first time we have a roadmap, I think. We had roadmaps in the past, but this is the first one that it's so high level, right? It's like...
We had one 2 releases ago as well, in 2.82.
Yep.
Because it did something similar. I had at that time was in December, I think, and I did a round of one-on-one hangouts with all the module owners, and we posted but it was very short in the end. What was posted on the BF commuters. This time I also included Brecht in the meetings, so it was Brecht, me, and then all the module owners. And there's going to be a few follow-up meetings to clarify some of the modules, such as the user interface. We have a module meeting on Monday. You're going to be part of the meeting.
Thank you.
And then we're going to have another one about sculpting after lunch on Monday as well, because we're probably going to have a few changes there, because Irun, which is the current, I think, the module owner, he's busy doing LTS. So maybe it's time for Pablo to take more responsibility and actually help organize the module by himself a little bit. Might be interesting.
It's giving
Spoiler,
more.
I haven't even told him that. So
okay, so Pablo, you are having this for breakfast. More responsibility coming now. I think it's good. He and other developers have, when they prove that they can handle the module by themselves. I think it's worth it. And also for other even other parts of Blender that maybe are merged with other areas, such as like the sequencer, for example, that is merged with the more like the data IO and the effects. Maybe it could become its own, but it needs a maintainer. So it's all about getting more people involved.
Something interesting that's always nice to remember is that being a module owner, there's not someone that is the sole responsible, the person that's going to make decisions by themselves in the module. There are people that are responsible and accountable for, so we can actually point someone, hey, this needs to be documented, or is anyone looking at that? And that doesn't get lost in the middle of a lot of people, who are gonna do that? I could do that, but maybe someone else is gonna do it.
So the roadmap is split into modules. So let's start with the user interface. There are 3 tasks so far. These are the things that are going to happen, and they're definitely gonna happen, right? There are also things that
are scheduled to happen, and of course by Beacon 2, Beacon 3, we can get to reevaluate that and see what's maybe it's not in a good state. And instead of rushing and then doing something that's half implemented, maybe move to 2.91. And one of the things it try to do, sorry, just to wrap it up, is to under commit things, like we call under tag. So even for bugs, have a few bugs and have those assigned for 2.90, but also have a few features. So that way, make sure that even if some of the features that are never ending, such as, I don't know, polishing tools, or I'll put polishing tools for instance, they don't get on the way of some bugs that we are certain that we need to be fixed for 2.90. So that's a little bit.
That makes sense.
If you wanna go even deeper, you can actually click in some of the modules, such as let's say the data module from that page.
The data module. Let's see. So data assets and I/O. I would actually love to go through all of the points. But yeah, here.
But they are not all modernized. So if you go down a little bit, you can also see that way now. Yes.
That's what you call with modern. Okay. So what is this? The data assets and I/O module takes care of I/O, as in like importing, exporting of Alembic, USD, but also performance, as in what? Performance, Blender performance, reading blend files, data, library overrides.
In this case, for the data, is the whole undo project.
That's part of this module.
Yeah, the undo, because we call object mode performance. Because what's needed in that case is just cache, data blocks, and whatnot. And the other thing, so a few modules already have these, let's call top view long-term roadmap. It's like a medium-term, long-term roadmap.
yeah, bastante.
Because it's 3 release. But we also kept the SVG file as a link on the. If you click on the long-term roadmap, this is the SVG file, so we can make sure that people can download it next release and the one afterwards.
Oh. So open, so transparent. Nice.
It's so we don't lose the data as well, right? Otherwise, you do it something nice in this release, and then next release, things just get out of date. And the other thing we did is also, if you go to the workboard, so all of those, they call it modernized
have a
modules.
Workboard, yes, workboard.
So the workboard, they all going to have the column with the 2.90.
So these
the model is going to start to populate. And the long-term one, and the bugs.
Wow.
And everything else is up to the module to organize, whatever, if they want more freedom on that, but to make sure that every single module has a snapshot of what's planned, what's being worked on for 2.90.
That's amazing. So really organized. And
we have this already for the sculpting, animation, nodes and physics, VFX still missing the roadmap, and the data.
Not bad.
I have it somewhere in my wall.
Not bad. So the backlog, what is the backlog? Is the current
backlog is the moment anything is tagged in the module, it goes to the backlog. And then the module members can take, okay, this is actually just a bug, let's not worry about that. This is actually planned for 2.90, this is long term, this is...
Interesting. All right. So in the chat, someone is asking how many 2.9 releases will be made? 3. Wait, 90? 3. No, 4 because it's starting 0. 2.90, 91, 92, 93.
Yeah.
Yes. So 4 more. Okay, so let's continue with the other modules. So this is what to expect. Modifiers in the user interface side of things are going to get more, this part of it was already improved, like most of it was already added. Maybe some tweaks there will be, will happen.
But then you're going to see this for constraints as well?
Constraints, and grease pencil modifiers.
And grease pencil modifiers.
Statistics, what does it mean with stats?
Statistics is the viewport, is the information we had in the info bar, in the footer of Blender, and then that in 2.90 this is now in the viewport, but they're still missing some of the functionality.
Yeah.
If you have a local viewport here and there, then they don't have the information reflecting that.
Yes. So that's what you mean. Okay. So the other cursors and tools final design. So
because for 2.83, we had this idea of, okay, let's changing the cursor to be per tool instead of per mode, and yet it still wasn't well defined. How can we tell modes apart then?
Yeah. For a while there was this big crisis going on.
And even when it comes to the tools themselves, like which tools do need a cursor, right? Because if the tools have a gizmo, why do they need a cursor then?
Yeah.
So what is a tool? That should be a bit more clear. A tool can work with a gizmo. A tool can have, because now we have 3 different kind of tools at least at the moment. Selection tools, we change the default options for everything. You have the gizmo tools and you have the tools that change the dominant mouse button action. So it'd be nice to clarify that.
Everywhere. All right. So in the user interface, of course, there will be continuous polishing and maybe some theme tweaks and improvements, but that's like the big things.
Maybe we get the property search option.
Property search. I saw that Hans being doing some stuff in there, which is very exciting. Let's see if no, it's not here in the homepage, but yeah, I've seen him working on a new branch to property search. What does it mean? That you get a search field here in the top of the properties, and then you can start typing and it will filter all the properties down there. So if you don't know where the normals like auto norm, auto smooth, you should search for auto smooth and then it will filter down here. This is super nice.
And not only nice, it's something that for 2.80, when you had this idea of having a vertical layout, predominantly vertical layout for the properties, this was taken as granted. But then what's the problem of being as vertical as it gets if you can search? We never got the time to actually implement that. It's kind of nice that Hans is managed to handle that.
Yeah, and he did the modifiers one, so I think that should be compatible with that as well. Super good news. Next in the list is the modeling. So modeling fast mesh editing, not the entire milestone, but basically an improvement on the speed as you edit in edit mode.
Yes, and going back and forth edit to object mode is so you can have a few modifiers to bypass some of the internal overhead we have at the moment. Whole be mesh to mesh conversion. So this is part of one of the big projects for this year, and we plan to finish the first part of the first milestone for 2.90 and start on the second one, which is the GPU optimization.
So there is 3 milestones and then an unknown one, and the plan is is part of the first milestone.
To finish the first part of the first milestone. So this escape edit to mesh conversion.
But and start with the GPU part.
And then start with the GPU part.
Amazing. So we can expect more performance improvements. Last week I talked about how much performance improvements there were, and it's good to hear that they are even more coming on the way. UV editing, polishing. Wow.
This is very interesting news. Well,
people will love
UV
this.
editing as a whole is some polishing, like some small things that Kimba wanted to do. But there's also new developers interested on the UV area. And they're going to be sending some patches our way. I think we can talk. It's people from Embark Studio.
Embark Studios.
It's one of the gold members of Blender Development Fund.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it helps for people to understand that the development fund is not like a support system. So Embark is helping Blender with the donation, and if they actually need something, they actually have their own developers allocating time to implement that.
Like Ubisoft also, it's on the same level, corporate gold, and they are contributing, they're working and they're improving Blender, plus helping financially. Tangent Labs also in the past.
As well.
Yes.
NVIDIA as well.
NVIDIA is also, NVIDIA, I have some news to talk about it later, that as well. It's just amazing. Cool. Well, great news. The next add object tool polishing. Yeah, that's the add object tool. I showed it last week. It's a new tool where you can add primitives, and it needs some improvements, but that's the polishing is gonna be happening for 2.90.
For 2.90, because the idea was Campbell wanted to polish. There's so many tools to be polished, and there's this long list. So he tried to pick a few of them, and this one, the one that was out of the top of his mind, because it's the latest one he added. And there's going to be a few other ones we're going to try to narrow and make sure that those at least are polished, but then he can still do some fixing.
I like
it's one of those never-ending tasks. So
yeah, the same as polishing other tools. I like it that it's under promising, because if you promise too much, then you don't make it. Sculpting, for example, multi-resolution wrapping up, vertex painting sculpt, and technical depth. So technical depth is getting rid of all the hacks that you maybe add on the way while you're developing, or all the cleanups
this
that
is
you need to do.
specific. If I actually click on the sculpt paint and texture, and then actually text away, and then you click on the workboard.
And the workboard, yes.
We have it. I maybe didn't move there yet. But anyways, they're very specific tasks we wanted to do. So just because we are wrapping up not only the multi-res, but also a lot of the sculpting pipeline in Blender.
Yeah.
And then Pablo, I know he wants to work on painting and whatnot. Then it's nice to also, to put the time to make sure that everything's really, really as good as it can be. For instance, dynamic topology integration with the remesher.
Yes.
Because right now, if you have dynamic topology, you cannot use Ctrl R to remesh. You need to disable it, use Ctrl R, enable it again.
Yeah.
Like, why? So maybe decide on which of the brushes we want dynamic topology to be exposed, which ones we don't want necessarily. So a little bit of that.
Next, so vertex paint as well. Is that even gonna happen for 2.90? I thought it was gonna be its own mode, not sculpting, but it's.
We'll clarify that on Monday. Again, sculpting is one of the modules that need a follow up. But maybe that's the one big project for sculpting that's gonna happen in 2.90.
Yeah, but it's not sculpting; it's vertex paint.
Yeah, but it's in the sculpting module.
Well, yeah, because it's painting, but it shouldn't be called sculpt. It's like
it's not. Well, first, not vertex painting. Even is the custom
attribute,
data painting.
Yeah, attribute painting. Yes.
Yeah, attribute painting. And if I'm not mistaken, you still access it via. I don't know if it's not. I don't think it's in the current mode, vertex mode. So.
But I think we agreed that it was gonna be a new mode. So maybe we should just change the name. It's a new vertex paint or something like that. Yeah. So next, animation and rigging, performance and back fixing. So performance, playback performance, you mean, or?
Playback performance. So the part of the, for instance, Elon was working today on the fixing some of the caching, threading caching he was doing for the animation playback.
Yep.
The truth is there's not a lot of features at the moment being worked on for the animation module. So what we have is it's part of the big project that tackles the animation playback performance.
Yeah.
Being addressed for 2.90. So it's not as exciting, but still part of the performance project for animation playback. That's exciting.
It is exciting. So, and then we have here the nodes and physics, particle nodes and experimental feature. As experimental features won't be production ready. That's big news.
It won't be.
So there will be. Sorry.
No, I'm saying it's just like being realistic. Like in the end, you're gonna have something there. Maybe it's exposed only via the experimental option in the UI.
Yep. So it's from the user preferences.
Yes. Because, well, I don't think you're probably gonna require a lot of feedback, in its first incarnations.
Yes. I think that's a very wise thing to do.
So again, it's like under-promising a little bit, otherwise
exactly
you won't deliver.
And that will be that would have two particle systems simultaneously at Blender. Basically, we're going to have the old one and the option to use the new particle system.
Yes. Yes. Technically, the particle system is already a lot of things already merged into Blender. Just kind of hidden from the UI. It's a compilation option. So yeah, the two systems can exist side by side for the time being.
Good. Initial point cloud support. So a new object type, point cloud.
Yeah, for the particle simulation system, right? Good.
OpenVDB integration with ManaFlow. So you can export and import fluids in ManaFlow, in OpenVDB.
Yes, and then the whole integration with MetaFlow and then the Blender volume object, it's kind of seamless because you can just take your cache data. Just to be clear, MetaFlow was already using OpenVDB.
Yeah.
But it was using like one file per grid, and now Sebastian is making sure it's the same format and expectations we have for the volume object. So you can use the same way you use Alembic as a cache format internally in Blender.
Wow.
And if you go to the OpenVDB website,
Oh.
Have you showed that? I think that's recent, right?
The OpenVDB, the one from DreamWorks. Here, what? Do we have the logo? Yes! Nice! Well done. Look at the big boy here.
It's pretty cool, right? Because we're using OpenVDB in so many places in Blender. We use for the volume object. We use for the Metaflow, and we're going to use it even more. And we use for the part of the remesher we have in the sculpting module. One of them have 2 remeshers, right? So it was about time. Then we just wrote to them. They're super nice. They're developers working for NVIDIA, actually. Ken, and he was super nice. Oh yeah, of course. Here's the logo and blah blah blah. Please, can anyone join their meeting next week? And then we're actually gonna join their meeting next week. They have like meetings with the industry partners. Pretty cool.
So we are industry partners now.
I suppose.
That's amazing. Well, that's really good to hear. So next in the list is the more polishing in Manoflow, and then VFX and video. Distortion nodes, what is that?
Distortion node, and the only reason it's not tagged is because it's still missing some, explanation in the release notes. Right now it's like very small. It's basically support to Natron and Nuke composing distortion nodes in the Blender motion tracking system.
Wow.
I don't know if it's going in or out. Good question.
We'll know. Compositor backfixing and video sequencer backfixing, but no refactor. That is because there is actually a refactor task going on. It's not planned for 2.90, but there will be one maybe after 2.81.
Yeah, if it's just be a bit, maybe a bit rushed to do it right now.
Good, because it means that refactor, as in, it will make it easier to develop in it and to welcome other developers also to help out. Switching to Eevee, over this one, people gonna freak out. Motion
be so good.
blur, motion blur as in actual motion blur, as in like the formation motion blur, like object motion blur.
But not only the formation motion blur, but the way we have now in Eevee, there's a few bugs due to the original design. So for instance, you cannot have something parented, the camera cannot be parented to anything, and you animate the parent. The motion blur doesn't really take that into account. Now it's fully integrated with the dependency graph. You can actually do like, they call a kind of pair object dependency graph. Do like, for this camera itself, where it was the camera, a few frames ahead of us or a few frames behind. I think Clement spent a lot of time on that. And I've been seeing teasers like for the past months, but now he's committed to finish this and wrap it up. So super exciting. And I can't wait for, the coffee one was using cycles, of course, cycles yes. and the workbench. To be interesting to like over time make coffee run only on Eevee, because why not?
Like remake it in Eevee.
Well, not remake, yeah, remake it in Eevee.
Like pure Eevee, yeah, that would be nice. Pretty nice actually. The team actually made it in 4K, so that version is gonna come out eventually So that would see like a second release.
You didn't get the YouTube team to replace the video?
No, we don't have. If there's anybody working at YouTube that want to get in touch, please write. Now we had a contact, but it's probably not there anymore because it's not replying. Stereoscopic polishing, that concerns you?
It comes out of the blue, right?
Yes.
Because throughout the whole 2.80 series, the stereoscope support had some things that didn't have before, but overall was always missing something compared to the 2.79, for instance.
Yeah. And
for 2.83, we got closer to what we had, and I want to finish this up. I want to find some time to code. It's very basic things, like for sequencer preview, have stereoscopic on the background. Where else? And just those small things we know, just so we can say once again that hey, 2.90 is full stereoscopic supported as we had for 2.79.
Awesome.
It's my own mini agenda.
Point cloud rendering. This is for
because we mentioned the point cloud object, but we have the basic object already implemented.
Yes.
But we needed support for Eevee and cycles. Eevee, like the viewport. Eevee is the most important one because we could release without the cycle support because you just don't render, it's fine.
Yeah.
But then we want to maybe we get both of them for 2.90.
All right, Vulkan. This is huge. Vulkan groundwork. So basically, starting with the foundation to get Vulkan support in Blender, which is gonna unleash so many features besides getting more like up to date, whatever, and improving the support on Mac in the future. The fact that you move to Vulkan, it's so promising.
It's promising. We have been waiting for this to get a final drawing API for Blender 2.80, not 2.90, because the moment to get Vulkan is when you really have to make sure the API is more language agnostic. So it's not something that's really made for the OpenGL and can actually think in a more abstract ways.
Yeah.
So this is gonna help with this. There's this big announcement today or yesterday about Vive finally supporting OpenXR. Have you seen that one?
Yes. No, wait. Vive. I thought there's Steam VR.
But yeah, but Steam VR and Vive is the same, right?
So I didn't know. Steam VR.
Because it's Steam. No, Steam is the one that makes the Vive.
No, it makes a Valve index.
Yeah, and the Vive as well.
Isn't that HTC? I didn't know that they.
No, but HTC Vive is all the same thing. So Vive and Valve and the index one is all the same.
Wow, I didn't know. I missed that the news because I know that in Steam VR is supporting it. Actually, it's one of the news that I don't know if I'm gonna have time to talk about it now. But basically, this blog post by OpenXR developer preview shows that Valve is excited to announce our current and expanded support for OpenXR, the new industry standard, wide open for VR and AR. So people here are saying that Vive is not Steam. Steam owns everything. And the index is just Valve Steam. Okay, so it's Steam, Valve, HTC Plus. Okay, so now I didn't know that.
That's what I was saying. It's the same thing. Just the same.
So just a different device. Huh.
Yeah,
okay.
There's different iterations of their device. But the thing I wanted to mention is that if you look at they mentioned they have Windows full support, but for Linux, they're only doing support for Vulkan applications for now.
Yes.
So that means if you have any of the Vive devices and use their runtime for OpenXR, you need Vulkan applications. And having even the basic Vulkan integration in Blender, although Blender itself won't really switch to this anytime soon, would already allow us to have temporary support on Linux for that.
Yeah, so another push to have support for Vulkan in Blender,
which is similar to how we have DirectX support in Windows only for the OpenXR. Yeah, you didn't know that we have a DirectX in Blender.
DirectX in Blender, what a waste. Yes.
So Vulkan will be.
So people are still using Windows. Next, fix macOS volume drawing. Data assets is what we saw before. Alembic refactor, USD exported improvements, and more work on static override. So that's for data assets IO.
Yeah, static override already is getting a lot of attention. It can fully override modifiers and constraints. So it's because before we had to handpick the things that were to be overridden, and then Bastian made it the other way around. Still have to pick the whole modifier, but it's opt-in. The moment you do it, it's very straightforward to make sure every single part of it is supported.
That's awesome.
Also, duplication is working for override. You can shift TD and it's fully working. There's been a lot of work here, and Julian as well is doing some work on the UI part of the override. So super cool, super hot topic.
Grace Pencil, blocking and 3D, 2D pipeline. And what is not mentioned here, but with the speed of development of the curve widgets in Grace Pencil, it's too early to add it. But the development of that is going super fast and super well. It's a Google Summer of Code project. Yeah, yeah. I've seen them working together and demos and stuff. It's going really, really well. Yeah. Render and cycles. Wait, sorry.
No, sorry. The blocking, because they actually present this in a more granular way. Is the whole rasterization of objects, and they have the 2D to 3D, the 3D from SVG to blah blah blah, but these all fall within the same umbrella, the blocking 3D and 2D. So use 3D for the quick blocking, and convert to grease pencil, and then work from there. It's really nice.
Embry, and finally render and cycle. So there is 4 sampling patches, other small patches, but this one, Embry, what is Embry? Why is it there? Why do we care?
Embry is one of those technologies that came from one of those third-party industries, which is the Intel. Am I right?
Intel Embry, yes. It's a collection of high-performance ray tracing kernels developed at Intel.
To get those things wrong in live is not cool.
No.
And they had an initial patch and version that works with Blender, but I think it was still missing GPU support, but also something else. They really wanted this in 2.83, but we couldn't get it.
But it's almost there. Basically,
in a state that was ready for Blender yet. So,
in a nutshell, performance
for the performance.
Render and cycles.
The BVH, right? The BVH building performance.
Yes, so faster everything. OIDN, open image denoise.
Yeah, we're it's kind of interesting. There's so much work we see in the industry towards denoising. Then Blender we have the viewport denoising, the energy time denoising, the OptX, blah blah blah. But this then is the open image denoise. It's supposed to be compatible with more devices we can expect, and following the open implementation. So, and I don't remember if it's all on us or if it's something that AMD is pushing for. I don't know full names here.
No, don't. Sampling patches for cycles, I guess. Sampling. No idea. Can we have links next time here? Oh, here.
Sampling patches. That's basically Brecht's agenda. And Brecht is crazy. If I say, he doesn't have a lot of time to code, so he's trying to code once a week. But he said, for instance, for him to do something like denoise baking takes him 2 days.
Yes. But
he has to do other things instead. So I'm kind of pushing for denoise baking at some point in the 2.9 series. But he's still basically reviewing patches and polishing patches that he wanted to work on. So it's all there. And he's gonna cycle one of those projects that haven't been quote unquote modernized.
Interesting. Oh well, I was kind of hoping secretly for more features in here. For cycles. Yeah. Like some are marked as less. It's a good moment to eat. To the light. Like light linking is marked as less important, whereas the shader nodes is more important. I would have half the shaders nodes in cycles, but have light linking instead.
It's part of the problem of this table we're looking at. For instance, the colors you see may not reflect the priority that's in the task itself.
Yeah.
And may get out of date.
That's a good point.
Also, the shader node additions, I think it's something that was done by... Not something that Brecht was doing, right?
No, actually not. No.
So...
Alright, so that's the end of the... So maybe more patches. So basically, patches means good stuff, because patches could be anything. Could be the light groups patch, for example, that it's being worked on. And it's a patch, and it needs the maintainer to go through it and read it and review and stuff. All right, so what time is it? We have 25 minutes. I think we can go through what's new in Blender. It's not many things. We talked about one already. Is the Steam VR support as an OpenXR runtime. But you see, it doesn't say anything about the Valve here in the commit logs.
Yeah, because it's Steam VR. It's like...
I know, but
if you know, I don't know.
People are gonna. People want the Valve more than the Steam VR, and they don't know that it's the same. I didn't know that it was the same.
Okay, but it's like Oculus. I think Oculus at some point they had 2 C's and they changed to a single C. Or maybe I made that up, but I do remember 2 C's. So all those technologies they're still trying to find their brand, I think.
All right, so moving topics into mesh editing. There was this very welcome patch, I didn't know even it was being worked on by Alexander Gavrilov, that preserves custom normal vectors in topology operator. What does it mean? That if you have custom normals, if you edited the normals of your mesh and you run an operator such as like the remove doubles, now known as merge by distance, it would lose the custom normals, not anymore. Isn't that huge? That's amazing.
Awesome fix. That's so big.
It's super big, and I want just like under the radar. 2 likes, come on. One if is an Argentinian friend, but it should come on. This is very big.
No,
please don't.
It gets on the thread on the.
Yes, if it screws up the history if you go and give it a like.
Emails, you get email. Go to the module page. That's the thing that gets a lot of the.
But can you disable emails for reactions? Maybe.
Disable emails, maybe, but still, if you go to the module page, you see like.
Okay, don't do it. Why is it show that it is the 2nd of like 1 year ago it was authored, but now it was committed? Basically, so it was the patch that was 1 year ago, and then it took.
The original. That's the original when the patch was created.
Wow, that's so cool. Well, that's another big improvement. So moving over to the sculpt section, we have 2 new improvements. One of them is the pose brush now has the ability to do squash and stretch. So you can squash and stretch by maintaining the volume and stretch the form. Which is...
It's kind of... You've seen, of course, that experimental feature that Pablo Barra was coding with Daniel Peppeland to do kind of, how do you call that?
Sculptimation.
Sculpting?
I coined that last week, and I got 1 comment on YouTube saying that they like Sculptimation. It's hard to say, but yes.
But it's kind of interesting to see more of those tools kind of fitting with this. It's not sculpting exactly, but it's creation. It is for creative people.
It is. I mean, in the end, Blender is all gonna be about sculpting, but it's super. I don't know, handy to have those and to edit those. I think if we were able to, I mean, for editing polys, of course, you need to enter edit mode, but for like adding primitives, and I think once you could add primitives while sculpting, that's gonna bring a lot of people away from actually modeling with vertices and just using this.
I guess the add object can help with this, right? Part of the idea.
Yes.
There and then.
The other improvement that was done is on the face sets. This feature that allows you to hide and show and do all kinds of operations. Now, as a like the control plus and minus to select more or less in edit mode. Now also like the same concept applies to face sets. So now you can grow the face sets or what?
Her hand looks so strange. The model.
I guess it was playing with the
I saw a scary movie yesterday, The Cabins in the Woods.
Yeah.
I have those things in my mind now.
No, but also, I mean, this is, when you go to the camera view, maybe it looks fine, but when you are away from the camera view, it has to look good for the camera. So that it's all for sculpting. Now we can move into the other news of the day, which is cycles. Improve optics viewport denoising performance with CUDA rendering. This is another huge improvement on top of what it was added last week, that it was about making non-RTX graphics card, NVIDIA graphics cards to support optics denoising. Now this one improves on performance because you could choose between optics or CUDA for rendering. And you had some features with one, some features with the other one. Now you can have always optics for like the denoising and still render with the same performance. I don't know if the same performance, don't take my words, but a similar performance, better performance in other in when you're rendering. So you're not limited anymore.
Yeah.
Amazing. So
it's still within NVIDIA, but
sorry,
it's incredible. It's still only NVIDIA graphic card, of course.
Yes.
And this is where the whole open image denoiser by that Intel thinks promoting. It's gonna help a lot. But well done, NVIDIA as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it's worth mentioning that this work is done by NVIDIA, like, because sometimes you read comments, it's like, oh, Blender is only focusing on NVIDIA, and it's like they're getting money and stuff. It's really
Patrick
have Patrick is a developer by NVIDIA, paid by NVIDIA. That Blender doesn't put a coin there, and they get and they just dedicate sources into working in this. And both NVIDIA and AMD are sponsors of Blender Development Fund. So
you have an optics graphic card now, but a CUDA one.
I do. No, I have an optics graphic card. Yes.
Have you tried that CUDA sound isolation?
No, because I am on Linux, and I always assume that things don't work on Linux. And, I mean, most of the time I get a good surprise. I go to the website and it actually is working. But I'm used to, like, when something cool happens, it's like I'm not gonna get it because it's only Windows. But with video games, I'm having a different surprise. Actually, I downloaded the I don't know, I was playing the latest Resident Evil on Linux just fine, or like Tomb Raider at like 100 FPS or 120 FPS or something. So it's getting better thanks to Steam, actually, that they are working on improvements. Video games are actually working really well. I don't think that's an excuse anymore to not use it to use Linux.
So thank you, Vive. Wow, no.
Thank you. All right, so switching gears to Grease Pencil. Add bevel parameters to convert Grease Pencil to curve. So when you are drawing in Grease Pencil, you can convert those to curve, and now there's an option where you can tweak the bevel. You can adjust the bevel and the bevel resolution after you convert them. Super welcome. And the last but not least is a user interface improvement that I don't know if it's being used anywhere in Blender, but it's the ability to
I know which one.
Print bolds and italics in Blender. We are not using this anywhere, I hope, right? I mean, at some point it would be nice to use it, but it just looks so ugly with the default Blender font that I hope we use it barely.
Yeah. When I saw that, I assumed it was for the text object, but text object already supports bold and italic.
Yes.
I thought you could take any generic font and do italic and boldness, but we have this already, so this is only for the interface.
Yes.
Which
in some cases comes really handy.
But do we have a guideline on when to use bold and italic and whatnot in the Blender interface? Not because you don't use it anywhere.
No, we're not using it. But it could be used, for example, in like here, like an example in the tooltips, or in many cases when you want to just highlight some kind of text. It is handy. It's just that the default Blender font is not the prettiest. Boy.
I probably use anytime you talk about the data block, I'll use bold, for instance, on the tooltip.
Yes, or it could be italics.
Same word, or
when you're describing something, it could be italics or emphasis and stuff. All right, so that is all for the news that I have here, but we may have some questions. I didn't even ask people to ask questions. I did on the chat, but not on the live stream. So if you are around, we're new around here, we do answer questions towards the end of the show, and on blender.community, the biggest the main community for this show, this weekly show, Blender Today, is where we get to answer your questions. So the first one by Crank H is, why did you guys change the modifiers layout, including the multi-column? We thought it will be adding only drag and drop, not ruining the modifier stack. Now it's the worst thing that has ever happened. If this is going to be done to the constraints, then we might already say goodbye to Blender. Wow. That's taking it a bit far. Say goodbye to Blender because of I don't know. It's a bit extreme. The stage of Blender 2.90 at the moment is Beacon 1, which means it's open for changes, and this is one of those changes. The modifier panels branch has been developed for months, I think, and we were asking people for feedback. This feedback is being taken into account, and there are reasons to move into single column. There are reasons like, well, sorry.
No, I've seen people mention that what I've seen on call is not a problem, but we also changed a lot of it. There's a lot more hierarchy in the layout, and the advanced features are there. But maybe it's a matter of having a final patch on every modifier and make sure everyone is happy with it.
Yes, passes on the individual modifiers, I think they should be addressed on one by one. The decision to use a single column in some cases, like for example here, the array modifier, it doesn't make sense that the relative offset is enabled but the panel is closed. That should be open, right? Because otherwise
that's one of the examples.
Yeah, that's one of the examples. But on the other hand, I'm actually happy that some of the options like UV offset is not enabled by default, because before you will have like a super long modifier that is just exposing every setting even though you don't need it. Then there are many other modifiers that have like a extremely long and confusing layout. In this case, for example, the data transfer, is easier to have this more grouped. I don't know, I like this. And once one of the reasons also is that if you have single columns, it's easier when you filter them. Remember the filter option the search option that we mentioned at the beginning of the show? This is going to make it easier.
The one thing that's I would say questionable is that we now have a lot of things collapsible within a modifier.
Yeah.
But we can also collapse the whole modifier.
Yes.
It's kind of, if you already have the shortcut to quickly press A to collapse and uncollapse, then maybe when you press A, you should also uncollapse the hidden. I know that's the part where we have too many boxes to put too many settings might get on the way.
Yeah.
Also, we don't have that in Blender, but it's interesting if seeing in different places where you collapse a panel. Sometimes there's only one property there, or some properties. Some of the properties they could be part of the collapsible version of the layout.
Yes, absolutely. Or for example, the same way we have A for opening the modifier, we could have like X for deleting the modifier. That would be, now that undo is fast, we could have that. Or we could have, I don't know, another shortcut that is maybe harder to press. That would be awesome. I am all up. Maybe people don't even know that you can press A to collapse. And that is one of those things that, people are, some I don't know, purists might say that we shouldn't hide shortcuts and we should not expose them, but come on, maybe it could show here in the show a tooltip that shows that with A you can expand. But I'm all up for adding those shortcuts that make things easier. On the other hand, the deletion, maybe, like, I like that you can delete modifiers and apply and duplicate it when they are collapsed, so that you don't have to have them all open at the same time. But yeah, it can be, maybe the buttons could show if there is room, at least the delete one, but when you don't have it, then it becomes maybe more responsive. Maybe that could be, like, if there is enough room, maybe the buttons could be shown or something like that. There is a lot to discuss, but I think we can all agree that the previous way of doing things, it wasn't really the best. Like, you had these buttons there that were always there, using a whole row when you don't really need it. So please give feedback, people and developers, and everybody's listening to them. But I think saying that this, we might as well say goodbye to Blender is a bit harsh. No one in the developer team is like wants to see Blender die. Those changes are for the better, right? We try to improve it. So try and maybe be more constructive. Maybe it's like, hey, I have this idea. Maybe because you can have 20 buttons in the header of every panel, right? So what do you do with those buttons? These are important, so we should keep them. These are also important, so what do? We put a new, I
think it's great, but it's always like, how often do you use this tool over the other tool? That's really a very clear cut in the decisions to be made. Yeah,
I mean, if we add the shortcut, and also people probably don't know that you can click, hold, and then release, and that is I don't know, I do it all the time, and I don't see it super slow to do this. Like, I'm duplicating almost at the same speed as doing it. Well, I'm also using a pen, but anyway, thank you for the feedback, even though not terribly constructive. But we should talk about it. We should discuss more about it. There is a thread apparently going on in the dev talk. Next question. I have a question now. Why rendering in Blender 2.83 AV JPEG is faster than FFmpeg with no audio, and NVIDIA sequencer can render time be faster or better his own render engine?
That shouldn't be tied to even necessarily. But
no.
Depending on the compression settings we have for your video, of course, going to have different results. The overhead is going to be in writing to a hard drive or encoding. You know better than me, Pablo, but
I know that AVI JPEG is the fastest way to export in because it's very raw rendering, just like just dumping. Whereas FFmpeg maybe takes other things into account. Maybe we are not reusing multi-threading properly for that. And the video sequencer with its render time can be faster, yes. And that's one of the improvements that is planned for the future, is mainly performance. I don't think the video sequencer, well, it needs a lot of new features, but the main thing is just performance. Just needs to be fast. If it's fast, it's allowed to not have so many features. Kurets asks, hi Pablo, do you think it would be a good idea for when creating a camera from view, for that camera to also inherit the viewport focal length?
Oh, doesn't it now?
No, apparently not.
But someone said, yeah, it does. Oh, no.
No, the thing is, it doesn't make a new one. Ctrl-Alt numpad 0 doesn't create a new camera from view. It changes like
it moves, right? It moves the
camera, yeah, to that point of view. So I don't know if maybe it should be an option of the operator, but it can be a bit distractive. Like you could lose your focal length.
Well, but then the other way around as well. If you actually use these to, yeah, it should be an option, definitely. I mean, it shouldn't be the default. That's maybe the point. But if you're also using these to lock something, and I think it's a bit complicated because people don't really are aware of their lens when they're using the viewport.
Yeah, exactly. The lens is not changed that often.
You don't see the frame so much. It's hard to tell.
Yeah. And also there are certain settings like orthographic or panoramic or perspective. Panoramic, for example, if your camera is panoramic, then what you also change that? It should be optional.
Yeah.
Hola. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say the video we saw the other day of the guy testing Blender for the first time. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
One of the things you see, like he look at the Blender viewport, say, "Oh, this camera lens is a bit too much," and then he go there and change. So it's kind of nice. People have eyes for that. They have an eye for this, right? It's too distorted. Probably might use a different default. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe other software is a different default. I think Blender uses 50 right now. It could be something else to not distort the meshes so much. The next question by Jens. Hola Pablo, thank you for the show. I watch every episode since I asked this question for proportional editing for multiple objects. And now it's almost implemented, but nothing happened in 4 months. Can you use this cookie to poke Campbell or the lie? So he continues the review. So I'm peer pressuring you now live to fix proportional editing. Does not influence all the objects in edit mode. So it's a fix?
So
it's review. So
yeah, it's probably fine. I would say I'll poke Campbell. I'll look at this myself. Maybe it's a, but I think it was replied. I think it's fair to get another pass.
Yeah, cool. I think the last message is around June 1st, yeah, so like 2 days before the release of 2.83, so makes sense that maybe it got a bit went under the radar.
Oh, so, also sorry, I was just say that Campbell already does a lot of patch review and bug fix, and then sometimes it's hard to conciliate the development. He's doing the whole edit mesh performance project. So you're gonna see like sometimes more active patch review and then sometimes less active patch review. It's a problem. We have over 1,000 patches to be reviewed in our patch track. Some of them are internal, some of them are for contributions, such as this one from Alan.
Next question by Pipeliner. Hi Pablo, I just want to say that it's really nice to see that Blender is a model for a successful open source project. Hope that more people will adapt and support open source projects financially. Absolutely. And by the way, shout out to the GIMP.org, this open source software for image manipulation. My favorite. I use it every day. I use GIMP. It has a new version, was released this week. So 2.10.20. Talk about release numbering.
I'm gonna try which version I have.
It's amazing. It has improvements in the UI, and it is my favorite, non-destructive cropping. So you can crop the image, close GIMP, open it next day, and it didn't crop the pixels as it used to be, as it used to do. Now you can.
How do I find my version of about?
Of GIMP?
Oh, I'm 18 still.
18, geez, man. they use pair numbers for releases and odd numbers, like even numbers for releases, odd numbers for development. Next question. Momodron. Hi, Pablo. Hola, I'm Momodron. Next question. Lever. Oh, one more question. Eevee. Any plans to add panoramic camera type in Eevee to render a rectangular?
Yeah, there's plan, but there's no one to work on that. It's something I personally would love to work on. Yes. But there's no time for that at the moment.
For people that don't know, this boy above me here is the one that actually implemented fisheye in Cycles. Good job.
And the game engine, rest in peace.
Okay, you're showing off. No, game engine is rest in peace, but the AppBG is doing great. I've seen this video recently, just a little sidetrack that shows it's a tutorial on how to do like the transition between two characters basically with a Eevee animation. So basically here the demo is amazing. So it went with a ball, for example, with the wooden ball, with the wooden wall to try and smash something with the black one. But if you go with the white one, it doesn't. So I have different properties for each ball, and it swaps with a very nice like animation.
But even the boxes, the other ones, they don't have the rotation, the option to actually rotate as well, right?
Yeah. So AppBG is doing great. Apparently, this looks beautiful. This looks like Blender, what Blender would be now with the game engine. So very exciting to see the project move forward. Next,
we have a small question on the chat. Say, would Eevee fisheye result in full reflections as everything would be screen spaced? This is part of the challenge. How do we take screen space effects and make them work in fisheye? And so that's why it's not so straightforward. We probably do it by still using the cube map rendering, and then with some, I forgot the name now, but you render a little bit extra, and then make sure that the screen space effects are not showing artifacts on the edge. And then when you warp everything back, and everything looks fine.
Yeah, that I can imagine.
How's it called, Pablo, when you render more than you need?
Overscan.
Overscan.
Eevee has an option already for that, for the overscanning. It's in performance, I think. No, somewhere here. I think it's in the output. No. Anyway, it's somewhere over here in the somewhere. It's called overscanning. If I had searched, if I had searched, now I could just type overscanning. Yeah, you see?
I mean, this is going to be the game changer.
It's a game changer.
When you have search.
Really. AppBG is a game changer, literally.
I need to download AppBG. I would probably be very nostalgic to play with it.
Yeah. Next, yeah, because actually, well, I mean, it's not an ad for AppBG, but it's just that it's amazing to see it doing well. And if you see the UI, it's literally the same that we love and not love sometimes. With the blocks with the.
It's full node based now.
I'm not sure. I saw another tutorial where I saw the interface, the old one here. Here, you see, the old.
Okay, the logic bricks.
The logic bricks, yes. I don't know. Maybe we could have one of the guys talk about, or girls, developers in AppBGE
Because the guys,
to join the live stream ones.
maybe get the speaker at the last Blender conference. I think it was Pharaoh 3D, who showed his work in progress AppBGE game. I think it's just combine the developer and
the artist.
Might be fun.
All right. Game engine is back. No, not. No. It's a fork of Blender called AppBGE. Next question by Juan G. Rodriguez. Hi there, guys. Actually we are kind of late. It's been an hour and 1 minute. So okay, let's do 5 more questions. Is that okay?
Okay, it's okay for me.
All right, so Juan Rodriguez, it's super great to have a roadmap we can trust. Thanks for this, team. Regarding point cloud, may enter in the Eevee plans to have a shadow catcher so we can mix Eevee render point cloud with cycles. Because even having cycles render capability with very dense point clouds, being able to render while with Eevee could be very helpful, especially with motion blur.
Well, the shadow catcher, what's the role of the shadow catcher in there? Just so we can mix Eevee with cycles?
Apparently yes, or just drop cycles even at all. But I don't know. I'm kind of happy that I see Vulkan support and not shadow catcher in the list of features, just so more time is spent in that, because once we have the Vulkan, it's probably easier to add other features like baking in Eevee, or maybe even the shadow catcher, because Vulkan has more support for these kind of crazy features. And I think I should go to the bottom to answer the first ones that were asked before. So all right, hi Pablo, how are you? Good.
How are you, Pablo?
I'm doing great. It's actually summer here in the Netherlands. It's coming summer. I wanted to ask if there are any plans to improve the way quadriflows work in Blender. Sometimes it can give you some weird meshes. If the face count isn't right.
Yeah, we know. Blender uses a library for that, and the library has shortcomings. And then, someone who needs to come up and fix the library.
Yes, that's a problem with using libraries, that sometimes you get a lot of features for free because...
but there's no better library at the moment, no open source at least. So this is not for the voxel-based remeshing that use OpenVDB. This library. It's the one that this is the Edge Flow remesh that people use for retopology. That unfortunately we know it fails a lot.
Yes, and there's a patch, Sculpt Quadriflow guides from October by Pablo de Barro. What is it? It's a guide. So you can draw a guide and then Quadriflow will use that. Come on, stop deleting. Save.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm waiting for it. Okay, yeah, draw it, and we are running out of time.
He's still deleting.
Yeah.
Maybe he's pressing something and you don't see.
And I don't know. This patch implements a sculpt brush that draws and removes guides in the surface. These guides can be used for the Quadriflow operator. Okay. It's a good proof of concept, but it's like it could have been done with the annotation tool.
Or maybe now that you can sculpt and vertex paint, you also want to do grease paint in sculpting mode.
No, but it's a patch. I don't know. Maybe here at the bottom is being actually used. Whoa. No, let's continue. It's from October last year. Blender in October last year was like the world was a completely different stage.
Oh my god.
We had a Blender conference. Last year we were thinking about having 2 Blender conferences this year, imagine. Yeah, right. There might not even be one. We don't know yet. We don't know.
What?
No, we don't know. We don't know. The Netherlands is doing great actually regarding the COVID. I don't know. This doesn't care. Anybody cares about this, but there has been 5 total hospital admissions in the whole country since yesterday. I love watching this. So it's not doing too bad.
Don't get me look at Brazil numbers, Pablo.
No.
which I am. So
Argentina is also
not anymore.
doing really bad, unfortunately. It's in the
Right.
peak. It's actually going up at the peak. This went really off topic. Next question by Greens Gold. Hola, Pablo. And he wrote hola in Portuguese. Thank you for helping me.
Well, Portuguese would have an accent, actually.
Come on.
Hola.
But people also write without accents, like in Spanish, right?
On the cell phone, maybe. I don't know. No, it's not hola. Should always have the accent. Otherwise, I say oi.
But in Spanish, people just drop the accents because they are cool and they just want to not use it.
No, only if you have the cell phone, maybe.
Yes.
Hola, Pablo.
Hola.
Thank you for helping me to get my feet wet with Blender code.
Oh, it's actually probably him.
I found a place where the default annotation colors is stored, but I failed to apply the change. I'd love to see more coding for artists, newbies, which is in the planning, right? You're considering?
Yes, to have every other Wednesday to do that. Thing is, when should I do it? Should I do it we should do it when I go back to the studio, whenever that happens, if ever happens, or when? Are you up for it? Not next.
Determined. Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Especially now that I can work. Let's see, because now I can stream from the studio, so it's much better.
That's true.
Well, it was good at home, but it's less disruptive of my workday, so it's all good.
Next question. So yeah, basically, yes, we could. It's on the plans. It's on the plans for this channel to have more content like that. Now things are still a bit weird. PLM MP Tech. Hello, Pablo. Love the show. Can you explain why the nightly builds are not being updated? Buildbot.
Yes. If you go to Blender chat, you can see the maintenance mode right in the top.
In Blender Coders?
In the Blender chat, Blender Coders channel, yes. Basically, what happened is it's under maintenance. Specifically, one of the hard drive. So the builds are not being updated because the computer that handles the builds is going through some maintenance. That's all. The hard drive was probably a failure. We replaced the hard drive, but the problems are actually something else. Most likely the motherboard or the CPU. So we work on that. All right.
So under maintenance. Next, but it's the plan to have it updated. And then I think the optics viewport denoiser for non-RTX cars should be included in the LTS. No new features in LTS. Only bug fixes. Right?
You're probably going to get the whole SynVR change there, by the way.
Okay. So
because it's small and it's a workaround for some NVIDIA thing and NVIDIA Vive. Because we don't even need to change anything for Blender to support.
It's a library
SynVR.
update.
No, it's actually a workaround for their lack of color management. So the heck on our end.
So it's actually removing a workaround. So it's even better.
It's adding it, but it's okay. But anyway, it's but this falls into the whole hardware driver update, which fits right within the LTS mission. So it's okay. Wow,
I completely lost track of which questions we are. So let's do the two last ones. Then Slemon says, "Hola Pablo," with upside down exclamation mark. Well, bravo. I understand that it was important not to change too much between 2.7 and 2.8, but it still feels like Blender has an organization issue. As in Blender Foundation or Blender itself.
You mean Blender because they're talking about UX?
Would you guys ever considering hiring a company that specializes in UX to do an overhaul for 3.0? No. Well, I don't know. I can't speak for the Blender for the Blender Foundation or anything, but I would say absolutely not. How can you hire a company external that company, unless the company is made by people using Blender for 20 years, which is not going to be the case, then no. I mean, having people that specializes in UX would be amazing, but they should still be, supervised by people that actually use Blender every day, right, on a daily basis.
That's not to say that Blender UI and UX need work, because it always needs.
Absolutely, yes, it does. But hiding a whole company for that is it's a bit too much. The UI though for 3.0 is hard to even think what's going to look in then. Regarding 2.9 though, is the UI shouldn't change that much, only improvements just to keep polishing. And
That's
the last
kind of almost like wrapping up the old 2.80 projects, right? Those like search property and the small things in there which always wanted to do for 2.80. So yeah, 2.9 is kind of wrapping that up.
Drag and drop of features, but I think the next big thing would be focusing on the nodes UI, right? With the everything nodes, which that UI should be improved. And the last question, which actually includes 3 questions. Hello, Pablo and Dalai. Great roadmap. What is your most requested feature for Blender, or what are you looking forward to see? Dalai, Felinto.
The most requested feature, and that's, I don't know, I keep hearing people talking about stereo and Eevee, but that's my bias. That's the one I know that the one I'm looking for the most is the asset manager for this year. Asset manager. It's going to be big and it's going to require a lot of work. So there's that. How about you, Pablo?
I would love to have VR artwork making creation in Blender.
That's nice.
So having grease pencil or sculpting, everything in VR. That would make me buy a VR actually. I was planning to get one when I saw Blender will get VR, but turns out now that the Valve / whatever other ones is working, maybe it's good to have it. But again, the first milestone is only for inspection. So once
this is there already, yeah. And the Google Summer of Code is doing the whole I/O. Hopefully, if that lands and is completed, it's going to be already like a great milestone to have in Blender.
Absolutely, and maybe when Blender has it, the Valve is not €100 anymore. The next second question: are there any rigging courses planned for Blender Cloud? Are there?
I don't know.
I don't know. I need to talk with the.
Still cover rigging.
I wish there is plenty of rigging walkthroughs and time lapses on the cloud because of the project of the Settlers project. The Settlers project is free for everybody actually, and it's available here in the character development. I think there is some videos regarding rigging. I think you can search per project. Yes, you can. And let's see, rigging. Yeah, rig generation, Rigify, Cloud Rig, and then rigging phase for Gabi, rig walkthrough for Lunta, and yeah, there is actually plenty of rigging. Not tutorial, not like taking you by the hand and explaining you what is an IK, but it's more broad and how the rigs are done, which is super nice. I don't know, we could ask the guys, the guys at the studio, if there's any rigging planning. What is the next open movie? Coffee Run was really fun.
There is a project, but it's not public yet.
Yeah, well, there's always a project, right?
So
yes.
There's one question I'd like to still answer.
Yes, sure.
Just a small one, just because someone asked about Alembic, like when is Sibrin going to have more time for Alembic? It's so nice to have custom attributes supported in Alembic in Blender. And you said because Sibrin's online, so might as well give the shout out. Yes. Sibrin's did the final scripting for artists this week for the time being, right? Not yes. Final.
Yes.
And then he's going to be able to dedicate a bit more time back to Alembic because of the whole quarantine, the whole Blender Open Up initiative. And had to take, people from here, people from there. Pablo couldn't do, as much UI development, help the team, UI decisions. Sibrin couldn't do as much Alembic USD development.
Yes.
And so there's that. So as we showed in the roadmap for data and assets and I/O, it's in the agenda entirely.
That is great to hear. That is really great to hear. So okay, what?
No.
And that is, I think that was the last question. There is a multiple other questions, but I think we covered everything here. So yeah, next open movie. Where I don't even know when would that be announced. There is no really talks about anything. The non-announcement of Cosmos happened a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen for the time being. But yeah, are you excited about this new project?
I am. I'm excited that the team is excited to be working.
Is the team excited?
No. Yes, I was talking to Andy today.
I should go to the studio.
Super happy to be working already with the crew. And I cannot tell much without giving spoilers, so I think it's going to be a really good experience for the studio as a whole. And for Blender as well, because they're going to need a library override from day one. And then we're planning to, make sure it's really production ready, really polished for their pipeline.
Yeah, so many improvements in library overrides. So, very exciting. All right, I think we can wrap it up. It's been 1 hour, 16 minutes of live stream, so a bit much. Thank you, Dalai, for joining in this.
Yeah, I tried to sync myself one of the satellites from your video animation in the background. I failed.
To move the head with no, it's impossible. It's really hard. I'm sorry. Can't.
It's a pleasure to be back here, Pablo. It's been a long time.
It's been really a long time. It's not really been a long time. Come on, we've seen each other.
It felt like forever. I know. 2023 and whatnot.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for people that speak Spanish. As a shout out that I'm gonna do this live stream in Spanish in a bit over at the Blender Hoy YouTube channel. So stay conectado en español. Just worth mentioning that this also happens for people that don't want to translate. Well, that was all. Next week we are still in Beacon 1, right? We are not switching beacons. What can we expect? Any big things to expect next week?
If I was to, I'll probably recommend the LTS as a nice topic.
Oh.
Just to at least cover what is already planned to be ported to 2.831.
Yes.
Also because you're going to still have already BuildBot fixed, hopefully.
Yes.
And so it's probably going to have new builds for 2.831 already as well.
2.83.1, not the release, but builds.
Yeah, and with the LTS, it's kind of hard to tell them apart.
Yes. That's for next week. All right, Dalai, thank you. All right, community, thank you, everybody. It's been awesome to have you over. Thank you for all the questions. Sorry for the ones that we didn't get to answer. We just got a bit carried away with the roadmap and all the new features. But we do this every week. So see you next one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I didn't give the warning for the people wearing headphones, but I hope it wasn't too bad. All right, you can hear it probably, but now is the most epic part. So now is when I fade it out. I say goodbye. Till next week, same place, same channel.
It's impossible to hear your voice over the music, Pablo. Thanks, everyone.
Ciao.
Goodbye.
Ciao.